So it's September 20th here. I wanted to come into the cornfield and check the cover crops and the state of the corn for that matter. Because of the wet conditions and stuff this year, I can tell our corn yield's not going to be great. But we are growing a fantastic cover crop from what we interseeded into the corn. If you can look down the row here, you can see we've got our crimson clover, a lot of annual ryegrass, radishes here and there. As for the kale, I don't see a lot of kale. There is some, but that's okay. You know, you don't get 100%. The fact that there's anything in here is great, and what I'm looking for is, you know, the amount of growth. But I'm going to poke around here too a little bit because I want to see what kind of evidence we have of earthworms. Tillage really disrupts the earthworms environment. We'd like as many of them as we can get, and I'm going to poke around and see if I can find some worm castings or even some evidence that maybe they've been pulling some of these corn leaves that are dying down into the ground. That would be cool to see. Hello, Mr. Spider. So I'm not finding any corn leaves being pulled down by earthworms, but what I am finding is a real nice clumping up of residue. See these piles? This is the cereal rye residue from the cover crop that we terminated this spring after we planted the corn in here. So without moving any of this ourselves, you can see the earthworms pull this residue into clumps, and then if you pull this up, a lot of it's pulled into the ground. There's the worm burrow right there. So they've been collecting this stuff and pulling it to different points where they have their burrows, which I always think is amazing. Think of these guys out here usually at night working away, dragging stuff to their burrows. So that's a good sign. They're not pulling the corn leaves. They're definitely not starving. They have a lot that they're working on, and it's nice to see that they're doing their job out here. So I just wandered into another pocket of the field, and we've definitely got some nice corn plants in here. This corn is just at the dent stage, and it's looking really good. So I think what we're going to probably be seeing, and what you can see when you look from above or from a distance, is that we've just got pockets, areas of the fields that are real wet and have been wet all summer. The corn is very stunted and delayed. The cobs are small. But then you get these areas on hillsides and stuff where the moisture was kind of optimal and had good drainage, and then it looks good. So it's one of those things you can't tell until you start harvesting and see what you get. Our overall yield is likely not going to be stellar, but it's nice to see there's at least some areas where it looks good. Boy, I said we didn't have any bayou kale in here, that it was pretty light, but I hit a pocket where there was some sunlight, and all of a sudden I found this patch of it. So it's in here. It's just a matter of hunting it down, and where it had some exposure to light, it really took off. Here's what happens when you're planting green and you don't have auto steer, and you lose sight of the row marker mark, and also when you have a bunch of herbicide resistant ragweed. One thing I forgot to mention too, there is a big thing coming up for our little farm. We made something of a large purchase, and I think that's going to be kind of exciting. So we got to get through the weekend before I can show you what that is, but stay tuned, and that's going to be kind of cool to see.